Welcome to Alpha Wolf's Den. It's here that we seek enlightenment. Alpha Wolf Trading recognizes that the most successful companies in the world at one point had no earnings. There's a lot more to a company than just its earnings report. That's why here at Alpha Wolf's Den, we interview executive teams. We want to get to know management. We want to understand the vision, the mission, the strategic drivers, the plan. We want to separate fact from fluff. This is not a paid for promotion interview. This is solely wanting to know the company's vision, mission, their critical success factors, their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and the threats. We want to know the long-term objective and the tactical initiatives that leadership plans to implement to achieve success. We want to know about the company's debt, the cap structure, what it's going to take for them to become self-sustaining and stop burning through cash. We want to know management's previous failures, challenges, hurdles, how they overcame them, or what they learned that they can apply in their current role. We're trying to identify the risk and the reward. And oftentimes, it's strong leadership that makes the difference between success and failure. Here at Alpha Wolf Trading, we are looking for the hidden gems. And I hope you enjoy this interview because this is one of those companies that I think could be a hidden gem. Please understand that this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. Any investment that you decide to make in any security should be based upon your own due diligence and opinion. Okay, hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with a very exciting interview for me. Probably one of the most frustrating companies I've held in my investment career, but I haven't given up yet. Right. And actually, I plan on seeing this thing all the way through. It is my pleasure to introduce you, Jin from WYY, which is Widepoint. Jin, thank you so much for coming in and doing this interview. Listen, I have been in the stock literally. I've been following this story for easily over 14 years, I think. Wow. Right around there. Wow. You are new, right? You took over relatively, actually. Yes. And I think the company was probably really on the cusp of actually disappearing.
Yes.
Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I think that's very accurate, Tim. Thank you very much for your time and thank you for having me on your show. And you're absolutely right. The company was, a quarter away, maybe a couple, 3 months away from, bankruptcy. And it was the board and, the consensus had it, investors, they wanted us chopped up for sale in 2017. In the second half of 2017, I took over, I and, several key executive management team took over and, we made all of the right decisions And we were able to make all of the cuts, all the things that we needed to do in order to turn the company around. We finished that first quarter that we were in charge, adjusted EBITDA positive. And since then, we rattled off 17 consecutive quarters of adjusted EBITDA positive.
That is a number that I want to repeat. 17
That's correct.
consecutive quarters.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
How much debt do you have now, Jin?
We have zero debt. We ended the third quarter with 18 million in cash. And again, we have zero debt. We have, we don't have to draw down our line of credit. We have $5 million in line of credit, which has a zero balance.
Let's go back to 2017. How much debt did the company have back then?
Oh, the company, we're probably drawing down every month. We had probably maxed out our, $5 million in line of credit. And we had a few other, long-term debt we paid off since. And so, as I said, I mean, we, turned this thing around. We have zero long-term debt. We had zero preferred stock outstanding. Everything is what you see in the street. And, 90% plus recurring revenues, right? And we just finished the largest, mobility project in the world, the Decennial Census 2020. Yeah.
The census, correct?
Yeah, the Decennial Census 2020, and that consisted of approximately 700,000 enumerators, the people that goes out and take the surveys, and 700,000 mobile devices that we had to ship out, do all of the logistics support, configure, secure, image, everything that you needed to do, and then we ramped that up. Do all this during a COVID.
Through a pandemic.
Yes. We did it all securely, did the reverse logistic, brought all of those devices back, wiped those devices, sold those devices to a wholesaler, recovering all of the value of those mobile devices and giving it back to the American people, to the federal government as big giant credit, all during a 2-year-long pandemic. And so we feel pretty confident that we have a very good set of solutions that we can implement and sell to our customers. We have the most secure multi-factor authentication solution that is available on the market, bar none.
Break this down. I really didn't go into what Widepoint does in simplistic terms, right? So the average Joe can understand what does Widepoint do specifically?
What we do is we provide technology management as a service. And we recently coined the term technology management as a service is because all of the services that we had, managing the mobile market, securing the mobile market, and we started with trusted mobility management. When we say trusted, we mean the most secure solution that is available on the market today. And so our trusted mobility management, or now we're moving to a larger term called Trusted Technology Management as a Service, TMAS, TMAAS. And you heard it here first, but what I will tell you is that we provide the most secure multi-factor authentication solution that is available on the market today to give you physical and logical access to your IT infrastructure, right? And in the simplest term, what our identity management solution is it replaces your user ID and password, and it replaces the whole slowdown of waiting for that randomly generated number to be sent to your phone or to your email so that you can punch that in. We have a single form factor called digital certificates. And if you're going out to any of the federal government agencies, you see these people carrying around these badges with these smart cards on them. I don't know if you can see that.
Yep, I got it. I can see it.
Right.
Yep.
And so that chip is very secure. It's the most secure chip that is available on the market. And you use that as your user ID and password and your randomly generated number. You don't need to wait, and you don't need to have all three of these things. And it is much more secure. and it is implemented and approved at the Department of Defense and all of the federal government agencies in the president's cabinet. Now, I can't tell you what, I can't verify whether NSA or CIA uses it, but I can tell you that there is a program called the Pegasus program that is out of Israel that have hacked into every one of these identity management solutions, except for the public key, private key infrastructure, the solution that we have, right? And so that's one leg of our trusted technology management as a service solution, right? I talked about the Census 2020 project, right? The Census 2020 project is securing more of these and managing more of these mobile devices for the federal government than anybody else in the world. We're talking 700,000 of these devices that we had to field, image, bring back, send out, bring back, secure, set the support 24/7 help desk, all of the reverse logistics, provide all of the security on them, managed all of the tail end costs associated with the voice and data plans that are on these devices. And we managed that all throughout the Census 2020, brought them all back, wiped them based upon federal government standards, which is fairly high. You need to, overwrite the device 3 or 4 or 5 times in order to get rid of all of the data that's on that device. And we did all of that, saving the census millions of dollars in taxpayer money, right? And so we did all of that. And so that's our second leg of our trusted technology management as a solution. The other piece is what we're using today: Zoom, VTC, unified communication. Now, whenever a phone rings, the phone will ring on your desktop, it'll ring on your computer, your laptop, and it will also ring on your mobile device, right? And so this is the unified communication as a service. And so what we do is we've recently been approved as a Microsoft co-sell. And what that means is that we went through all of the, the testing for our application, so that now what we can do is to provide you all of the visibility that you need. Whenever you're using these devices, it crosses what they call session border controls, right? So whenever you talk on your Zoom and you have a phone number that people can dial in, that's an option that you buy as an individual to say, if somebody wants to dial into that Zoom call, they can do it just audio-wise, right? Now imagine that you have an entire organization, hundreds of thousands of users that uses Zoom, and you have these phone numbers, and they have long distance calls and certain tariffs. Well, Microsoft, Zoom, Google Meets, and all of these vendors, they're very good at voice over IP. They're very good at VTC, but what they're not good at is the telephony. What happens when it crosses from voice over IP to POTS lines, and when it goes to the carriers, and the carriers charges them all these taxes associated with FCC costs, voice minutes, long distance calling, and all of these things. Well, we cut through all the nonsense. We provide them a clear visibility of what you are using and what costs you are incurring as an organization, right? Mm-hmm. And so those are 3 legs so far. And the 4th leg is our IT as a service, right? You know about Microsoft 365. Everybody goes and logs into their Office 365 and they use it. Well, when you have trouble logging into it, who do you call? You call your IT department. The IT department calls Microsoft, and Microsoft calls us, right? And so what we do is we provide that level of service so that you don't have to go through this whole rigmarole. You let us manage your IT infrastructure as a service, and you call us, right? We manage everything from soup to nuts. You don't have any pieces of hardware on-prem at your facilities, and we handle all of your IT infrastructure from the cloud. Now, just imagine when you access your IT infrastructure from anywhere, let's say, at the gambling floor in Vegas, and you're out there, you're accessing your emails, people can break into your account. And so what we do is we provide that layer of service that we just talked about, our strong multi-factor authentication on top of your IT as a service. And now what that will allow you to do is when you make connections from that, gambling floor on at the casino.
On their Wi-Fi, right? That's what you're talking
using
about,
their
right?
Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Yep.
But what happens is because you're using the strong digital certification and multi-factor authentication, everything that's going between you through the Wi-Fi to your backend server is all encrypted and secure. And it gives you the convenience of replacing your user ID and passwords, and it streamlines your process, right? And again, it is the strongest multi-factor authentication that is available on the market.
So this isn't something that me as an individual could go out tomorrow and just buy it from my phone, right? This is through a corporation, right? I mean,
yes, it is through a corporation, but what we're doing now is we're setting up a certificate authority for the commercial side of the house, and it may be very soon that we will allow retail users to be able to partake in that, right? Right now, the way it stands in the federal government on the public side of it is that individuals can actually get digital certificates from us, right? These digital identities, right? And they can use those digital identities to log into the federal government servers, whether it's the General Services Administration, whether it's the Social Security Administration, whether it's the Joint Personnel Adjudication System for security clearances. Well, you can use the digital certificates that we issue to you, to log in to those federal government systems, right?
Okay.
And so what we need to do is we need to enable the infrastructure, in this case, Office 365, the infrastructure that we manage on behalf of our customers. We will enable that environment so that you can start using these digital certificates to log in securely from anywhere.
There you go.
Does that make sense?
There you go.
Yeah.
So, as I think about your company, and this is why it's one of the most frustrating companies. We're just going to take a look at something here real quick, because I want everyone to understand, look, this chart is not a pretty chart. I'm not going to lie. This is going back to 2007. This is an ugly chart. It's going from the upper left to the lower right. But I can tell you that from as long as I've been following this company, it has never looked as solid, performed as well, and I'm talking fundamentally, never. It has never been in the position that it is in right now. Now, I know that the census, everybody, look, you've been very transparent. It's not like the census contract ended and nobody knew that was coming.
Right.
Right?
We said it I don't know how many times.
You were very clear. Look, revenue is going to take a hit because the census contract is coming to an end. But there was another overhang. It was the Department of Homeland Security.
Yes. Yeah.
That originally is what got me involved watching this company from the get-go. It was, what was it, 10 years or 5 years or 6 years or 7 years ago, where you got the $500 million, right?
Yeah.
Department of Homeland Security. And what was in my mind was if you guys could, because you took it on low margins, you took it on price.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got it. But in my head, I'm thinking, if these guys can execute, that is going to be one sticky ass contract to move somewhere else. Right.
Yep. Absolutely.
And thank God you guys did execute. Right. Yeah. I mean, say what you want about prior management. The one thing they did right was they executed with the product, right? They didn't run the business very well, but that part they got right. And then the overhang was that contract was coming up for renewal, right?
Yes.
So tell me what happened.
So this is what happened. So the first things first is that, when I sold the company, a company called ISIS LLC, that's ISYS, just in case you were afraid of the terrorists coming over here. It's ISYS.
YS, got it.
So there's no affiliation with those guys in the Middle East. So when I sold that company, we were in the Department of Homeland Security at the TSA, Transportation Security Administration, and the Customs and Border Protection. And we parlayed that to winning the entire Department of Homeland Security, right? And so in 2009, 2010, somewhere around that parts, we won that contract. It was a $500 million contract, and we executed. And since, I joined the company Widepoint when I sold my company in 2008 to Widepoint. So I brought that contract to Widepoint. Now, fast forward, 8-10 years later, they're talking about, doing a recompete. And of course, in the calls, in the various earnings calls, we say, yes, we have this recompete coming up. We are the incumbents on the contract. We are very sticky because we have our software all integrated with the Department of Homeland Security software and all of their systems. And it is most likely, and that we are in the best position to win. Now, I can't go and say, this is a mortal lock that we're going to win it, because you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
And so, we're trying to give as much confidence to the market as possible to saying, look, we think we're going to win because X, Y, Z. We're we are a proven commodity. Federal government hates change. We are integrated in with all of their systems. We have all of the certification and accreditations that the federal government requires, and we don't know of any competitors that can do that, right? And so we say that, we win it with now we have negotiated better margins on the contract, right? And so we're in the process of now moving all of the old task orders that was let under the previous contract onto this new contract. So that stuff should start in earnest in 2022, because we won the contract back at the end of 2020. So most of it now is has moved over as part of the 2021 migration, and then into 2022. Now, yes, there's some headwinds. I mean, we had this, budget morass with the federal government. They can't approve a budget
because of COVID, right?
Right. It's crazy.
That's because of COVID, right? I mean,
it's
from what
because
I understood,
of COVID. It's because of the change in administration. It went from Trump to Biden administration. And so whenever they have it, and then you have an ineffective Congress, they haven't been able to approve a budget, get approved budget signed and into law. And so what that means is we're on this continuing resolution, and what that means is that the federal government can only spend up to what they spent the previous years, right? And so, it's just kind of moving to the side. But through all this adversity, right, we've been able to stay in business. We stayed profitable. We had, some modest growth in our managed services, our higher margin revenue services, and we're continuing to, build our sales pipeline, right? And we're continuing to move forward. We're continuing to invest in our, technology and our solutions, right?
Let me back up for 1 second here. I want to highlight something. So,
sure.
Your biggest customer clearly is the U.S.
federal government. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I was thinking about it earlier. I was thinking to myself, you know what? That could actually be part of the problem, right? Widepoint is not a household name. I could probably go up to 50 people and say, do you know who Widepoint is? And I would bet none of them would know who you guys are, right? Yeah. Even though you are handling the Department of Homeland Security. Does that mean anything to anybody? I mean, you should, right? So, but nobody knows you because you're not if they said Microsoft was handling the Department of Homeland Security, everybody would know Microsoft and it would make sense, right?
Right.
But what's changing now is you are not, I mean, yes, they are your biggest customer, but now you are going towards a higher margin corporate client.
Yes, yes, we are. And DHS is one of many departments within the federal government, and we have footprints at the. I can't talk about the specific name, but I will tell you the things that kind of like they handle guns and explosives and the smoking products and such. Department of Justice is one of our customers. Department of Defense is one of our customers. Army Corps of Engineers, we can mention them, right? Army Corps of Engineers is a DoD agency that we help manage. And we have the National Academies of Sciences, we have the National Institutes of Health. So we have a lot of different federal government agencies that are our customers, right?
What real quick, you just got a certification. I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't that long ago that you guys announced that you got, what is it?
Yeah, if you go out to the FedRAMP Ready, FedRAMP certification, and you go to the ready contractors that are ready for the FedRAMP certification, you will see our names on that list. And what that means is that they are in the process now, are reviewing our cybersecurity footprint, right? And they're looking at that and saying, are all of our processes and procedures and all of our tools and all of our software systems FedRAMP compliant, meaning Federal Information Management Systems Act, right? And essentially what that is that you have to meet certain security requirements to protect federal government data, right? And you also have to meet by the virtue of the fact that you meet the FISMA moderate and high requirements, you also meet the GDPR, the European Union for data protection, right? And so when you're saying you're FedRAMP ready, FedRAMP means Federal Risk Assessment Management Program, right? And so what they do is they go out and say, okay, we're going to assess your systems to make sure that you meet all of the FISMA security requirements, right? Mm-hmm. We're very confident that we're going to meet all those requirements because we've been through agency-specific cybersecurity requirements. And we receive what they call ATOs, or authorization to operate, from the Department of Commerce and the Department of Homeland Security, right? And so they're going through now at the, sort of like an umbrella level FedRAMP certification. And we're in the process of going through that. We're at the readiness review, meaning they've already did the readiness review and said, yay, verily, you guys can go through this gate. And now we're going through the process of assessing all of your systems. So by the end of this year, we should have our FedRAMP certification stamp of approval. And
how long does this process take? Just, how long have you been working on this?
It takes a very long time. And you may have heard the saying, the federal government, the wheels of federal government turns very slowly, but it grinds very fine. That's what they say, right? So we've been in this FedRAMP certification cycle since recompete win, meaning, they said, well, we're not going to put you through the FedRAMP certification because you're only 1 year away from the recompete. Well, that recompete took 3 years to complete. Okay. Now that we re-won it, they finally put us in to the FedRAMP certification process. Right now, you can imagine how long it takes to get this certification. Right. None of our competitors have that.
That's what I was going to say.
Right.
So once you get this, it's the moat for you becomes much wider, I would suggest, right? Because you've got people that would now have to go through this same process, which will take years.
Right. And so once we have that certification, we could go to the other agencies, and all of these other agencies, they get waivers because they haven't gone through this process. They say, we have a contractor that can do this work, but they don't have the FedRAMP certification. And there's nobody out there that has that. And they'll say, no, wait. Sorry, but Widepoint does. Right? And so
there is one.
Yes. And so when we do that, what happens is that gives us a leg up, and they say, oh, there is a small business that has a FedRAMP ready status, we need to look at them. And we need to find valid reasons why they can't do the work.
Yep.
Right. And so that gives us a huge leg up, and it gives us a lot of opportunities once we get that, and it will open up the doors to a lot of the agencies that were sort of locked out at this point. But, you know, as I said, there are 13 or 15 cabinet level, you know, departments, and we're barely scratching the surface at Department of Homeland Security, Department of Justice, and the Department of Defense. And then there's Department of State, Department of Education, Department of Energy, you know, yada, and the list goes on.
It just goes
right?
on and on.
Yeah.
Right.
And so,
But
we're working on that, and in a parallel strategy, what we're doing is we're bringing that due diligence, the posture that we have built here in the federal government, and we're bringing that same level of security to the commercial world, right? And so the two of the verticals that we're currently looking at right now is, one is our beverage industry. If you can imagine, there are lots of bottling companies that are out there. And we had some successes with, you know, one and a consortium of a group of these bottling companies. And, you know, and when we have a signed contract in place, we will put this, you know, press release out. But I can tell you that the bottling industry is a fairly large organization. You know, and not only in terms of the individuals that have to be secured, but all of the devices, all of the robotic arms, and all of the computers that gives instructions to those robotic arms need to be secure. Because if you can imagine, if somebody, you know, a nefarious actor could go in and they could get control of one of the computers, start injecting the wrong amount of chemicals into these beverages, you know, the best case is that the soda tastes bad. The worst case is the soda is poisonous. And now you have the beverage, millions and millions and billions of bottles of these beverages could be tainted, and it could kill a lot of people. And so you can imagine how many of these devices that needs to be locked down, right? And of course the individual. And because people are operating from, you know, remote sites and working from home, you need to secure your endpoints. That's the solution that we provide, right?
Sure.
And the same thing with now the second vertical that we're looking at is this state and local and education, what we call SLED, S-L-E-D, state, local, education. We've been conducting tech forums for these SLED organizations, K through 12. And if you go into any state, if you go into any given state, you'll usually find that one of the largest, if not the largest employer in the state is the K through 12, right?
Wow.
And this is only including just the faculties, administrators, the engineers, the bus drivers, and those people that are related to the schools. Now what you have is that what's happening now is that you have these young kids, their identities are being stolen, right? And so what you can do is to start locking down their information in the schools, the school records, the grades, the syllabus, the training programs. All of these things can be accessed remotely, and they're using user ID and passwords to do it, right? And so let's lock it down. It's gaining a lot of traction, and not only the students now. I mean, the students will go from K through 12. They would have this, you know, this identity that would follow them where they go, but also the parents of those kids that need access to the homework, the training plans, the education plans, the grades, right? And any communique that they may get from the schools can be locked down, right? And God forbid, you know, these things happen. These, you know, hunker down, you know, stay in place, shelter in place commands that comes from, you know, when there's a, you know, an active shooter situation. You can lock those and prevent those things.
I'm just thinking out loud here, and you know, I'm thinking about the oil pipeline, the hack that happened there, right? I think about it. I think about our electric grid a lot, right? Because I mean, if somebody were to hack our grid, that's pretty much game over. I think the third of the population is dead in a week, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, without electricity, especially in inclement weather, like in the northern, latitudes,
yep.
I think that there were some, studies done, and they, I forget, but it was a high percentage of people will be, deceased like within the first 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I
Absolutely.
mean, a lot of people
Absolutely.
for medical reasons, right? That
Absolutely.
need
Absolutely.
dialysis and all this other stuff.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, it's scary. So,
It's
why
scary stuff.
we wouldn't have, the electric grid or all the companies that are, I mean, I just see this massive, what is the size of the addressable? What is the TAM on this, Jen?
The sizable addressable market is $23 billion and growing. I mean, I say growing because all of these devices need to be secured, right? It's not only, like all of the infrastructure stuff, it's the transportation stuff, all of the healthcare records need to be secured. I mean, the application is endless. I mean, driver's licenses, right? I mean, we all carry around these picture driver's licenses, and they can all be spoofed. They can copied and faked. And, the most innocuous piece of it is, you get a drink based upon some false ID, but you can use that driver license for all kinds of things, like terrorist training for airplane pilots, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these things have happened. And so one of the things that we've been trying to do, and we've been looking at trying to get into the various, talk to the state officials so that they can create this strong authentication for driver's licenses. So once these driver licenses are issued, it can't be faked. You put it in there and it tells you whether that's a valid driver's license or not. And you can read it with near field communication or Bluetooth interface. So you can wave it in front of the, the thing. And think about it, at a traffic stop, right? You can actually prosecute these badges from a distance. From your squad car, you could probably, if you have enough power,
identify who's in the car.
Yeah, you can find out who's in the car.
Right.
And whether they
that probably would scare a lot of people. That probably, you'd probably have some group that would come out and have an issue with the fact that you can identify them from X amount of feet away, right?
Correct.
That's an invasion of their privacy, I guess.
Correct.
Is the way they can view that.
And of course, this will be only for approved users, right? Because remember, the information that's on here is encrypted, right? And you can set up the system such that they can read it, but they can't unencrypt it unless you allow them to do so.
Got it.
Right. And so there are lots of applications like that we can, put in. So the applications are endless. I mean, and it is the strongest multi-factor authentication that is available on the market. So tactically, what we're doing is that we're concentrating on the beverage industry. We're concentrating on the K through 12. And once that start to take, a seed, we can start using that as a proof of concept, prototype, and start rolling it out through the rest, all of these other applications that we're talking about. And so if we could get, Facebook to accept a digital cert versus a user ID and password, can you imagine how many users will be using this type of ID? Because right now you're using user ID and password and a randomly generated number to get access, right? Now, social media, it's not such a big deal. You lose some of your family picture, big deal, right? But we're talking about, what about Amazon? What about losing your control of your Amazon account? People buying stuff on your Amazon account. So there are lots of applications, and we're excited about it. But, just like anything else in life and in business, it's a marathon, right? It takes a long time for these things to take root and get to the point where, it's like a rock sitting on top with this, potential energy and rolling downhill at some point, and it will happen.
What about, I mean, I'm going to take you on a trip here.
Okay.
But I'm thinking about NFTs, Metaverse, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this stuff and I'm thinking to myself, okay, now why is the NFT such a what I think is going to be around for a very long time? Because it's on the blockchain, right? The ledger that cannot be changed. Right. So how do you identify that the people that you're dealing with are actually the people that they claim to be, right? Wouldn't that be as important as the NFT item that is on the blockchain? I would think that would be as important, right? And as the
Right,
metaverse becomes this place, I mean, it's the hottest word in Silicon Valley right now.
Right.
But I can see, I mean, right now everybody's talking about entertainment with the metaverse. I see the metaverse is going to be a tool at some point. I think there's going to be a lot more applications than what we're currently envisioning, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah, absolutely.
to tie in with that, how do you protect your identity in the metaverse, right? How do you, would you're connected in some way, some form with something to the metaverse, right?
Correct.
How are you protected?
And the way you should protect yourself is with a strong multi-factor authentication, a digital certificate, a digital ID, right? And so what you do is you lock your access to your Coinbase account using a strong multi-factor authentication, right? You sign your NFTs with your digital certificate that says that if somebody sends you an NFT and you can identify the person that is sending to you that's being authentic, and the only person that can unlock that is somebody with your public key, right? So what you do is you send them your public key, they encrypt the NFT with your public key, send it to you, and the only person that can unlock it is you, because you're the only one with that other matching private key. That's how that works, right?
That's what I'm talking about right there,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm thinking.
Applications.
Jin, look, it's been a frustrating road. I mean, I do want to talk about the fact that, look, the company has never looked this good. You guys did a reverse split back here. Talk to me about, why did you do the reverse split, right?
Right. The reason why we did the reverse split is because there was a lot of shares out there. There's a lot of talk about, being in the penny stock and getting above, the $5 and the $10 mark in order to, get out of that whole micro cap hell kind of thing, and getting out of the penny stock. And so, so of course we did that, and we were up trading above the $10 mark for a while. And then over time, people just, continue to sell. And so what are we doing in response to that?
Yes.
We're buying the
shares.
What
was the announcement today, Jin? What was the announcement today?
The announcement today is that we had bought approximately 300,000 shares of Widepoint stock, and we have a 10b5-1 in place to do additional repurchases of the stock. We believe that our stock is undervalued. Our market cap today, I think, ended somewhere around 35 million bucks, and we had 18 million as of the third quarter. Subtract 18 million out of 35 million. That puts us at like 18 million in market cap.
What's the compounded annual growth on this?
So our compounded annual growth for our managed services?
Yeah, for WYY. I mean,
yeah. So our compounded annual growth rate minus the census project. So if you normalize our growth minus the census project, we're double digit, probably in the low, double digit, like 11, 10, 11, 12% on our managed services revenue. And so we're going to stay profitable. That's our grow and grow profitably. We have renewed emphasis on acquisitions, going out and acquiring customers and acquiring technology.
Which you just did an acquisition.
We just did an acquisition. It's going to be it's a material acquisition with a company that's delivering IT as a service that is all commercial. That's going to bring us a large commercial customer base. We'll be able to layer on, as I said, our identity management solution on top of that and offer that solution to their existing customers, the ITA. And then that will also serve as a proof point where we can use that now to go in as a sales tool. And we're doing that already with the beverage industry, and we're doing that already with the state and local education.
All right, how many shares do you have outstanding, fully diluted?
We probably have somewhere around 9.4 million shares.
9.4 million shares.
That's it, right?
No debt. Let's go back to no debt.
Zero.
You are 17 quarters of
Adjusted EBITDA positive, 17 consecutive
17
quarters.
consecutive quarters. You just did an acquisition. And I think you were strategic. You didn't overpay, right?
We got a great deal, right? This company does 10 million in top line revenue, 1.5 million in adjusted EBITDA. We paid 4.75 in cash and about 100,000 warrants for this company. That's the initial price. Now, if they hit all of their EBITDA targets, what it ends up being is that we would have paid approximately 8 million in cash, and we would have issued 550,000 warrants. Now, we're talking, them hitting the ITA acquisition, ITA hitting 2.8 million in adjusted EBITDA next year, right? And so if they are able to do that, we got to steal, and we believe that they can hit it. And adding, just looking at the initial cost, if you're talking about buying $10 million in revenue with 1.5 million adjusted EBITDA for $4.75 million, that's a pretty good deal, my friend. If you could do that, you should do that all day, every day, and twice on Sundays.
Right. So I think what is really important to take away from this is the fact that you are being very strategic. You are not, because there was a while there where every company on the planet was taken off. And I could see where you could have gotten sucked into buying a company with a ridiculous multiple, and you did not do that.
Yeah, we're very patient. We're going to be very selective. And as I was saying is, like in life and like in business, it's a marathon. You need to be there. You need to be dedicated. You need to have endurance. You need to be profitable in order to give yourself enough time and enough runway to execute your strategy. It's not about, a sprint and buying a company that is going to take you to the moon and back. It's about finding that right diamond in the rough that is going to add all kinds of synergies to your organization. And that's what we did with ITA. We have several opportunities within our acquisition pipeline. We have large material opportunities in our sales pipeline. Because, we are small, any large opportunities could have a material impact on our revenue and our profitability, right? And these contracts are out there. And as we continue to get additional services and additional capabilities under our belts through these acquisitions, our certification and accreditation is going to help us differentiate ourselves from the pack. And it's going to put us at the table at these large opportunities. And, we feel optimistic of 2022 and 23 and beyond. And again, we're profitable, and we're going to stay in business, and we have time, and we have the right management team in place.
Jin, I didn't get to go into your background, can you give me just a little bit of your background?
Sure. I can give you a little bit of background on on myself. I don't usually talk a lot about myself because, as you can tell, I'm a huge introvert, right? However, just for today, I will try to come out of my shell and tell you a little bit about, and give you a quick summary of my background, right?
Okay.
So I'm first generation immigrant. I was born in the deep South, right? And when I say South, and that's probably where I get my accent, right? When I say South, I mean South Korea. So I'm a first generation here, right? I come from a fairly large family for nowadays, 7 folks. We're talking mother, father, and 5 kids, right? That's a fairly large family for today's standards.
Yeah.
I grew up in a blue collar neighborhood. When I got to the U.S. in Baltimore City, solidly lower middle class, right? But it's like the top 1% in lifestyle relative to where I was born. Where electricity and running water was still like science fiction from where I was born, right? And I attended Baltimore City public schools. And, like all of my siblings, I excelled in math, and, I'll let you draw your own conclusion on that. Okay. I did well in school academically, and I did okay. I played a couple of sports. I was actually a three-letter, sports. I played three separate sports, go all through high school. I play soccer, lacrosse, and swimming. And, I have a story to tell about that, but I'll leave that for another time, right? I went to the University of Maryland, and I received a bachelor's and a master's degree in computer science and computer systems management. Went to work in the corporate world for several years, working for large federal government contractors like Northrop Grumman, SAIC, Mantech, CSC, and all of these large, corporations, right?
Right.
And then I made the transition into corporate management. I led large, technology projects such as the combined DNA index system, if you're familiar with that. And it's a tool, investigative tool for the FBI, and it's installed in all 50 states, and they use it to analyze DNA samples and match them against, known convicts and crime scenes, so that they can match and get investigative leads from the DNA samples that are found at a crime scene. I've also managed a contract called CHCS, Combined Healthcare System, for the Veterans Administration and Department of Defense. And this was a precursor to all of this electronic patient records. So working in these, law enforcement and working in the healthcare industries, really, beat that whole cybersecurity, identity management, multi-factor authentication into my head, that you need to really secure your data, right? And so, and that's kind of why my background of, technology, cybersecurity, management, federal government contracting, all kind of came together, right?
Okay.
Then I took a dive into the entrepreneurial world back in 1999. Everybody was partying like it was 1999, but I was out there working. Okay. I started a company that I sold to, Widepoint back in 2008, a company called ISIS LLC. And I think I told you that. It's ISYS. Okay. And I sold that company. And then, I ended up joining Widepoint because I had a 3-year earnout, and with all intentions of retiring after that. But I stayed on because, the company that I had sold to Widepoint was essentially becoming, most, of the company. Now, that company, in terms of, top line revenue, it's probably 85% right now. And in terms of the higher margin managed services revenue, it's probably about 70%, 65-70%. And so back in 2002, they promoted me to COO. Then in the second half of 2017, they promoted me. I was promoted to CEO when the company was sort of, was teetering on the brink of insolvency.
Now that was at the behest of, there was an activist investor that got involved, right?
Yes, there was an activist investor that got involved, and essentially they wanted a management change, and they effected the change back in 2017. And so, as I said before, in 2017, the company was in dire straits. We were losing, on the order of, $5 million on an adjusted EBITDA basis, and up to our eyeballs in debt. And so,
and a bloated share count.
And a bloated share count. We had something like, 90 million shares outstanding. And so we turned the company around. We stabilized the company, we stabilized the ship, or the patient, if you will, and the patient survived, right? And the company has returned to, profitable growth, right? And so, there's so many of these things that happen, but the, bottom line is that, like I said, I keep saying, life is like a marathon, and I am a marathon runner. Just so you know, I ran a couple 3 marathons, the Marine Corps marathon here in Fairfax, Virginia. But it gives you a lot of perspective in terms of when you feel like you're going to quit. That's when you really have to pick yourself up and move forward, because
This is your first foray as the CEO of a publicly traded company, though, right? Is that correct?
This is my first experience as a publicly traded company, but the way I look at it is that, the business acumen is still the same. You have to stay in business. You have to play the long game. The patient has to survive. You can't burn and bleed cash for, ad infinitum, because the company is going to disappear. The company will be chopped up for sale. Essentially, that's what the direction was. But since the new management team has taken over, I wish I could take all of the credit, but we have a great management team that we've been able to put together here. And we're able to now look around. We're not these companies that are, going around with hat in hand begging for money. We feel like we are the sharks in the Shark Tank, right? Companies are coming to us and saying, gosh, we have this great technology and we need money to help us grow to the next level. And so we can pick and choose which company that we want to look at and invest in. And so that's kind of, where we are now, and that's who we are.
No, so look, Jin, I thank you so much for taking this time to come in and tell the story. But and I will say this, I am a shareholder. I am a shareholder of WYY. This is not in any way, shape, or form. I am not a financial advisor. Mm-hmm. This is not a recommendation to buy the stock. I believed in the story. And the bottom line is I think that this is a story that is just, for whatever reason, it's overlooked by Wall Street. Honestly, I'm surprised that somebody hasn't gobbled you guys up. I'm surprised that you haven't been swallowed up by somebody, right? Yeah. Because I think at your current market cap, with a $500 million contract with the Department of Homeland Security, with the partnership with Microsoft, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just dumb, but I think the company is extremely undervalued.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and that's why I'm always, whenever there's open windows, I'm buying shares, right? I'm a shareholder. And as you know, individually, I'm probably the largest shareholder in company stock. I have roughly 400,000 shares. And I got most of those shares, a lot of those shares, probably like 3/4 of those shares as part of my sale price of ISIS LLC. And so, I'm a believer in Widepoint, right? And all through the years, I've added to my position. Whenever there was an open window, I've added. I believe in the company. And I like you, I believe that there could be, somebody may come to us with a bag full of money and say, hey, we would like to pay you these crazy multiples that people are getting out there. And I will say, let me ask Tim, one of our shareholders, and see if he's okay with that, right? And so the answer is, I'm sure that there's a lot of money floating out there, and people are talking about all this money being, floated out there. But a lot of these companies are circling back to us again, because we're very straight up, and honest with them when it comes to, negotiation, because we don't want to waste their time, and I don't want them to waste our time. We say, look, we're going to pay you 4 to 8 times, maybe even 10 times adjusted EBITDA. That's what we're looking to pay. And they're like, oh no, we're looking for like 3 times top line revenue.
Forget about it.
We say, well, thank you very much, but if your position change, we're here. Right. And so we had a couple of the companies come back and circle back, and they're like, are you really serious about that? We said, yes, we're still interested in you, but we're not willing, we're not interested in paying those high multiples. Right. And so, we had a couple of these companies circle back with us, and we're talking to them, and they're in the queue. And so, again, we're built for the long haul. We're making money. We're profitable. We're going to continue to grow. And any material contracts that hit could have a material impact.
Oh yeah, look,
and our bottom line.
I really believe, I firmly believe, and the more I was thinking about it, the last couple of days, that the fact that the government, the federal government, is your biggest customer, it doesn't give you a lot of retail presence, so that
Yeah.
just people just don't know who you are. But I think, if as you get the bottling or you get the school, I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking, okay, not only you're protecting the kids, you're the parents. Now now you're going to become a household name, right?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that is the differentiator, I think, right there. So, look, just from a technical standpoint, I didn't go through your deck, but anybody that wants to go to your deck, they can go to the website and look up the investor deck. You guys also have an investor alert service that people can sign up for. Just go to this investor relations and sign up for, and you'll get every press release that you guys put out will go directly to their email, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. And then just looking, I will tell you this. So that was a weekly time frame. This is the daily time frame, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at this, and I'm from a technical standpoint, you are sitting on a level of potential support right here at $4. Round numbers are typically for whatever reason, they're psychological for people, right? Yeah. So you're defending this position right here, and you've got some previous support there. So this is a pretty big area, actually. Yeah. If you were to crack below that, people might get nervous, but you're actually holding this let's just call it $3.75 to $4 area, and you're kind of basing. So look, this has been in a downtrend, and look, it's not just you, Jin, it's the entire small cap, micro cap space that has been getting pounded for the last 7 months. So it's not company specific, the sector itself. And if I look at, charts of Microsoft and Apple, these are mega cap names, mega.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And if you look at these charts, they are damn near straight up parabolic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is not sustainable.
Wow.
That is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The CEO of Microsoft just sold half of his position on Monday. Half. That's a big sell. Okay?
What about your buddy Elon? He sold a bunch, right?
And Bezos. And listen, these guys are, and Steve, what's the guy's? Tim Cook.
Apple, Tim Cook, yeah.
Right? These guys are selling. Why do you think that is?
Because they're no dummies.
Because they know that there's Apple's chart. It's damn near straight up.
Yeah.
Look, that's not sustainable in my mind. And here you have this company that is, I think, in a very sweet spot of an important sector that is undervalued. And if I had my druthers between putting money in one of these over extended straight up stocks and putting yours
overvalued,
right? I don't know. It just, to me, it makes sense. I think that the risk on yours compared to the potential reward, and the risk on that one compared to the potential reward, there is no comparison in my mind. But
and what you said was, all of the micro caps are being beat down a lot. I think the bright spot for us is that we can weather it, right? We don't need to go out and raise capital. We're generating cash from our operations, and so as I said, in 2017 we were underwater, losing money. Since then, we've added money. We're continuing to add to our balance sheet, and we're going out doing acquisition funded by revenue generated, profits generated from our operations, right? And so, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And so, I think we can weather the storm. If the micro caps are beat down, we don't have to go hat in hand and go out and borrow money and raise capital. We don't have to go begging for money. If we do need to raise capital, we can do it. But at our share price at these depressed rates, why would we, right? Maybe we can do, if it makes sense to go out and do a merger, we could always look at buying another microcap, maybe another company that is public, that is sort of treading water. Then what we can do is we can do a all stock deal, and where it makes sense, and we would value the companies equally, right? And
Yep.
so those things make sense, and we can remove the redundancy, and then we can make that deal almost immediately accretive, like our ITA deal.
Let me ask you a question, Jin. If you were to give anybody, what's the biggest thing you've learned from being the CEO of a publicly traded company? What do you think the biggest challenge is for you?
You have to have a hugely thick skin. That's what I've learned. In that, the investors love you one minute and they hate you the next, right? But I think, aside from that, I think the biggest thing is that this is something that I've always known in terms of running a company is you have to be profitable and be prepared to weather the storm, right? Because we're in the right sector. We have the right set of solutions, but sometimes the timing just isn't right. And you have to be prepared to go the distance. And you have to endure all of the slings and arrows of outrageous fortunes, And so, so you need to be prepared, and you need to have thick skin and be prepared to go the distance.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jin, nobody else knows it, but in my view, you're one of my look, I have some rock star CEOs, rock star executives. You're one of them. I just think you've done a fantastic job, and I'm not giving you all the credit because I know you built a team, right? I understand that, but you built that team. So the way I look at it is, I think you recognize the people. I think I just think you're one of the rock star CEOs, and I think you're underappreciated, just like I think WYY is underappreciated. So that's why I wanted to do this interview with you. I wanted to get the story out for my members, because I'm not exactly the most popular guy with my members right now, because they did follow me. I mean, not because I told them to, but I mean they saw it, and it hasn't been a fun ride, but I think in the end we're going to come out on top, man. That's my belief. I got to have the patience. Right.
Buy low, sell high, right? Right. We're low, right? I mean, you're showing where the support line is, right? And so I look at that, and that support line, essentially valuing us at today's market cap of 35 minus, whatever, 10 million, let's say, that's 25 million. Our enterprise value is 40 plus million. How does that make sense? So buy low, sell high.
I love it. Jin, I want to thank you again, man. I'm going to get this out. Actually, I'm going to stop recording this, and then hold on a second. I want to share one.